Do you believe in reincarnation? Do you know anyone that has been reincarnated? The correct answer may surprise you. If you think you don't know anyone that has claimed to have been reincarnated, you are most likely wrong. Because unless you have never heard about Dalai Lama, you at least know one person who is known to the world as the reincarnation of the last Dalai Lama. Known as His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, he is the spiritual leader of the Yellow School of Tibetan Buddhism, which was created in 1578. Tenzin Gyatso is the 14th reincarnation of Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama is respected by most and loved by many. Knowing him does not mean believing in reincarnation, but you can't deny the fact that his legacy was built on a belief in reincarnation. The Tibetans believe that the soul passes 3 stages after death. The first stage, Chikai Bardo, is the stage to clear light of reality. Then the second stage, Chanyed Bardo, is where the soul sees different Buddha forms. The third stage, Sidpa Bardo, is when the soul is reborn. Tibetans believe that karmas decide ordinary people's reincarnation, but supremely enlightened beings like Dalai Lama would consciously transform their consciousness at the time of death into one of the Buddha forms, thus avoiding reincarnating by choice and preserving their wisdom and spirituality. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the unique Tibetan idea that a person is not immediately reincarnated after death, Bardo, marks an intermediary period when the soul is going through the 3 stages described earlier. Through the help of Nichung Oracle, the official seer of Tibet, and instructions left by the late Dalai Lama, a committee of high monks would look for signs to search for the reincarnated Lama. Usually a new Lama will be named 2 to 3 years after the death of the last Dalai. When the new Lama is found, 3 of the last Lama's articles will be placed in front of the child. The child must pick the correct one and then be confirmed by 3 servants of the last Dalai Lama before being announced as the next. So let's compare the current Dalai Lama's picture with the 13th Dalai. Do you see the resemblance? How about the 9th Panchen Lama and the 10th one? Panchen Lama is the 2nd highest spiritual leader in Tibet and followed the same reincarnation procedure. Even though it is hard to tell in these pictures, I think you probably will agree that there is no striking resemblance between the 2 spiritual leaders and the reincarnated prior selves. However, most people who believe in reincarnation are more interested in reincarnation stories, like that of Jennifer Lawrence and the Egyptian actress Zubaydah Tharwat. Like Conan O'Brien and the Civil War-era Republican State Senator Marshall Harvey Twitchell. Of course, some pictures look so unreal that we must question if they were photoshopped, like this Egyptian statue and Michael Jackson. But I have to admit, reincarnation stories attract a lot of attention, because if reincarnation is for real, none of us will ever die. But think of it this way. If we retain no memory of our past lives, what good does it do us? It's like being given a chance to play in a video game every time you restart a game. Only you are one of the bad guys killed. You are not the player who retains the memory and identity. We can't revenge the injustice from our previous lives. We can't continue the unfinished love. In that way, reincarnation is like our souls being used like recycled material, right? But after reading so many reincarnation stories, I have to say that I believe a few souls not only have reincarnated, but also retain some memory of their past lives, while some other souls, even with no prior memories, do look or act like their former selves. While watching the news today, a thought came to my mind. What if history is repeating itself? I thought I was seeing the reply of a 500-year-old history book. A charismatic leader accomplished things that were absolutely impossible. His personality and behavior is so much like someone we all know. If he is really the reincarnation of who I think he was, Can we predict the future based on the history books? Let me start by seeing if you can figure out who I have in mind by revealing some characteristics. Number 1, there was a leader who wanted everything to go his way. Number 2, very intelligent, loves sports, and is a pretty good singer. Number 3, knows how to use people. Number 4, willing to go nuclear when things don't go his way. And 5, no matter what he does, he seemed to still have the love and support of many. Leaders almost always want things to go their way, but only a few would go nuclear at any cost. Who moved heaven and earth just to get his way? How about Henry VIII? Henry VIII had 6 wives. It goes like this: divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. When the Pope refused to annul his marriage with Catherine of Aragon, he went nuclear and changed England's religion from Catholicism to Protestantism overnight. Guess what? He still had his people's support. When he cut off his queen's head twice, he still had his people's support. He can shoot someone in the middle of New York's Fifth Avenue. Guess what? He probably can still win the election. Henry VIII was brave to use people, and he never seemed to be short of people with talent and skills. And when he did not need them, or he grew tired of them, he had no problem getting rid of them. He was bold and unpredictable. He could be charming and rude. His moves changed not only England, but the whole world. So I think President Trump may well be the reincarnation of Henry VIII. He resembles the famous king more in personality and his life's path than the looks, although I can't deny some resemblance between him and the king. You may point out that, unlike the famous Henry, Trump has had many children. However, who do you think will take the baton from him one day? I think it will be Ivanka Trump. Ivanka may be full of controversy, but so is Trump. That doesn't bother people much. I bet she will continue playing a part in American politics even after Trump's presidency. Does Ivanka look like Queen Elizabeth I? Remember, we are not looking for an exact replica, but someone with the same spirit and desire. Someone who wants to follow the father's footsteps. Now, let me ask you, who do you think Donald Trump trusts the most? If you ask me, I will say Jared Kushner. I think Donald sees himself in Jared while Jared wants to be just like Trump. That led me to think of someone who wanted to be just like his father, Henry VIII. Prince Edward was the answer to Henry VIII's prayers, and King Edward VI wanted to be just like his father. Do you think Jared looks like King Edward? I think there is a strong resemblance despite the age difference shown in these two pictures. King Edward was intelligent way beyond his years. He ordered the execution of his maternal uncle without any emotion nor hesitation. I don't know much about Jared, but I think soon we will know much more. I know bringing up President Trump is probably a suicidal move. Picking the reincarnation topic probably already angers many. Now, linking Henry VIII with Trump may give pro-Trump and anti-Trump groups reasons to hate this video. However, this video is not political. It was not made to promote the concept of reincarnation or denounce it. It is to show you some interesting points that you might have missed. Unlike most reincarnation theorists, who present mostly hearsay, I will show you comparisons in personality, physical characteristics, including height, eye color, and even handwriting samples. Before we render our vote that President Trump is the reincarnation of Henry VIII, let's first compare their looks. Henry VIII was famous for his red hair and blue eyes. President Trump's hair color is up for debate as it changes all the time. But Celebriate.com calls his hair red and his eyes blue. And guess what? They are both 6 feet 2 inches tall. Their looks comparison can be even more striking when you compare the picture of the young king and the young president. I think anyone would agree their undisputable resemblance. Of course, the most striking resemblance between Henry VIII and Donald Trump is their personalities. They are determined, focused, willing to take risk, and gained the love and admiration of many. Henry VIII executed 2 of his queens. One of them, Anne Boleyn, was guilty of many things, but almost for sure innocent of the crime she was killed for. But King Henry was loved by his supporters no matter what. When the Pope refused to grant him the divorce in 1534, Henry VIII sent this message to the Pope: "You're fired." A familiar act that we saw many times when President Trump swept his dislikes off the table. He went nuclear when he could not get enough votes to confirm his pick for Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch. How many leaders in the world can take such actions without getting in trouble? You tell me. Assuming President Trump is the reincarnation of King Henry VIII, then it is likely that his families from that life can still be around him today. Based on personality, relationship, and pictures, I think Ivanka may be Queen Elizabeth I, and Jared Kushner was King Edward VI. Ivanka was the beloved daughter that may take the baton from Donald one day, while Jared looks exactly like Edward and has unbreakable bonds with Donald. More so than Donald's sons, Donald Jr., Eric, and Barron. Of course, what is on everybody's mind must be Henry VIII's 6 wives. Where are they now? I think I for sure found one. It is someone you would never dream of. In addition to an undisputable resemblance, I will surprise you with another comparison. Handwriting samples. Please note that we are not looking for a striking match, but more so some similarities that are as intriguing as the reincarnation theory itself. Are you ready to start? Let's start with comparing the known signature of Henry VIII and President Trump. Dang. I can't say they look too much alike, but comparing President Trump's signature with Henry VIII's handwriting note, I can see more similarity. I am not a handwriting expert, and the writing styles for most people have changed over the last 500 years. While President Trump usually capitalizes every word as if he was yelling, so it is almost impossible to have a good comparison. However, despite so many factors, I have to say I can't rule out some connections between these 2 writings. Now, let's move on to analyze signatures of the one Tudor queen I found today. It was the Queen Henry VIII called Smells Bad, Looks Like a Horse. Do you know who I think is the reincarnation of Anne of Cleves? She's a woman President Trump called Pig, slob with a fat, ugly face. Don't be surprised, it is Rosie O'Donnell I have in mind. I actually think Anne and Rosie both look really sweet, and they also look very much alike. You may point to the obvious flaw in my theory. The feud between Rosie and Donald started in 2006 and is still ongoing. But poor Anne of Cleves never raised her voice. Although a blue-blooded princess, she married that grumpy old man who blamed her for his impotency. If Anne dared to talk back, she would be cut short, literally, on the block. If you think this is a bad joke, then wait till you see this. This is the signature I found for Anne, and this is Rosie's. Remember the 500-year difference? Isn't that amazing? So the next subject of our discussion will be King Edward VI, Henry VIII's beloved son. King Edward wants to be like his dad. Like most Tudor royals, he is intelligent beyond his age. But before he died at age 15, he ordered executions on both of his uncles, Edward and Thomas Seymour, without showing any emotion. And then before his death, cut both of his sisters off the throne against his father's wish to his cousin Jane. I wonder what he would have been like at age 36 if he had not died at 15. Even if you feel everything else I said is nonsense, you probably can't argue about how much these 2 look alike. However, I don't think anyone could have said their signatures looked alike, right? What if I can prove you wrong? What if I can show you Jared signs just like King Edward? Why I can do that? Because you not only have to look for the obvious, you need to look for what should not be there. How can Jared's scribble look like Edward's print? Jared's D looks nothing like Edward's D, and you can't even find Jared's R to compare with Edward's R. But look here. How do you explain this? Did Jared intentionally copy Edward's signature? Or did King Edward add these expecting someone just like him would sign just like him? Now, do you still think reincarnation is a joke? So, how about Ivanka? I think she was Queen Elizabeth I. Not only was she her father's favorite daughter, but she seemed to inherit her father's political charm and business sense and is the most likely the one to take charge. Does her signature look like Queen Liz first? The likeness is not word for word, but look at the calligraphy and compare that with her signature. Do you see my point? Now, let's look at who Melania may be. Of course, I started with Henry VIII's 6 queens, although I think there are some resemblances between Melania and Jane Seymour and Catherine Parr. I give my vote to a famous Tudor queen, Mary Tudor. Mary was a Tudor princess but a French queen. She was known as the most beautiful princess in Europe. Henry VIII consented to a marriage to Louis XII of France to be his 3rd queen. The marriage lasted less than 3 months, and Henry levied a heavy fine when Mary married Charles Brandon, 1st Duke of Suffolk, despite Henry's prior written promise. So, does Melania sign like Queen Mary Tudor? I think I have to say inconclusive, but what do you think? Maybe it will be easier if I show all 6 of Henry VIII's queens' signatures side by side with signatures from 3 Mrs. Trumps. You probably noticed Jane Seymour kind of looks like Catherine Parr's, while there is some resemblance between Catherine Howard and Anne Boleyn. You probably don't know they were first cousins who share the same husband and same fate. Since Henry VIII inherited Catherine of Aragon from his brother Arthur, and had no better European Protestant princess other than Anne of Cleves to choose. The 4 queens he married by choice seemed all from the same mold. But that raises another interesting point. Marla Maples looks like the young version of Ivana Trump. Melania can pass as young Ivana, or Marla if she dyes her hair. Since we can't really tell these ladies apart by looks, let's see if we can figure something out based on their handwriting. Although not a perfect match, I will cast my vote for Ivana as Catherine of Aragon. Catherine and Henry VIII were happily married and in love, till a young woman showed up and stole the man's heart. I think the A, the N, and this long line across shows a similar writing style. And in these 2 pictures, they actually do look kind of alike. How about Marla Maples? Although I did not find a perfect match, if I have to choose from one of these based on a signature match, I will say the most likely one will be Anne Boleyn. As you can see in this signature, the way Anne signed her name. Anne, kind of like the way Marla signs Marla. I know it is not likely the Tudor family of 500 years ago reappeared in its entirety as the Trump family now, but I will let you decide based on what I have found. How about Trump's other 3 sons? Donald Jr., Eric, and Barron. Let's start with Don Jr. My wild guess, based on signatures, is to bring up William Howard, Lord Howard of Effingham. He was uncle to both Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. Like Jared and Ivanka, Don Jr. also has a scribbled signature. But look at the right side. Do you see a 3? And now look at William Howard's signature. Do you also see a 3? And the writing style is quite similar. As for Eric Trump, I will say his signature looks like Edward Seymour, 1st Duke of Somerset. He is King Edward VI's uncle, executed under King Edward's order. I can't find Tiffany nor Barron's signature, but I did find a picture match for Barron and Tiffany. Barron looks like Charles Stuart, King James's uncle, while Tiffany looks like Margaret Tudor, King Henry's older sister, Queen of Scots and the grandmother of Charles Stuart. I know how crazy this reincarnation with family ties may sound, but look at those pictures. Can you really call me crazy? However, there is one person I must bring to the picture. I mean, the ex-FBI director, James Comey. I know it is impossible to find a 16th century person that is 6 feet 8 inches tall, so I decided to start checking to see if I can find anyone close to King Henry VIII with a signature similar to ex-director Comey. And guess what I found? Can you deny these two signatures look eerily similar? Even when the letters are different, they just look so similar. Do you want to know who that person is? This is the owner of that signature, someone who is very close to the king, famous for his good looks, intelligence, and wit. He is well educated at Oxford, and listen to this. He was knighted and became a member of the Privy Chamber at age 25. Although he was more a diplomat than a lawyer, in 1535 he was one of the special commissioners at the trial of Sir Thomas More and the trial of 3 Carthusian monks. James Comey also had a distinctive early career. At age 27 he joined the U.S. District Attorney's office in New York. During his 6 years of service there, he served as deputy chief in the criminal division and prosecuted the Gambino crime family. Did you know James Comey's college major was chemistry and religion before he attended law school? George was passionate about religious reform and translated from French into English 2 magnificent religious texts. Isn't that another amazing coincidence? Now, you must be dying to know who this mystery man is. Actually, when he failed to show his loyalty, King Henry placed an order for his head. Everyone believed his innocence, but that made no difference. He is George Boleyn, Queen Anne Boleyn's brother. Did you know that James Comey is of Irish descent? And the Boleyns held an Irish noble title. This is another similarity that most people do not know. Personally, I don't believe souls die with bodies, or line up in the waiting area for the judgment day. I think life is a lesson and our souls must go through it again and again to learn. However, no matter how smart you are, we can't retain any memory of our past lives. Recently, we decided to conduct our own reincarnation research. I'm eager to share with you what I consider original paranormal analysis that is important to share. Or should I call it paranoia analysis? Whatever you want to call it, I will call it the truth identity of Bill Clinton, year 1800. Whether you like Bill Clinton or not, you can't deny that he is extremely intelligent, very charming, and did a great job running a country. Despite many great accomplishments, he was best known for his impeachment trial and the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Do you think it is easy to find someone just like Bill? No. He is truly one of a kind. But guess what? I think I found him. It may be hard for people familiar with history to come up with a possible match. But not hard for Sherry, since she never learned U.S. history in school. She will just use her wild guesses. She said, "I think Bill Clinton looks like the face on the $2 bill." The $2 bill? That's Thomas Jefferson. Do you think Bill Clinton looks like Thomas Jefferson? Actually, Jefferson is Bill's middle name, and the two do look alike. And listen to this. Bill Clinton is the 7th generation descendant of President Jefferson. Can you really deny the resemblance between the two? There is even a match on the hair. But Jefferson may be wearing a wig. They both have gray hair, whatever the original color may be, and they both seem to have blue eyes. And check this out. They both stand at 6 feet 2 inches tall. Jefferson was a good and admired president. He was an author of our Declaration of Independence, and he was the president who negotiated the deal to buy Louisiana from the French. However, many people only know him through his scandalous affair with Sally Hemings, a black slave, who he fathered 6 children with. Just like President Clinton, his presidency was stained with a personal affair. Why would Jefferson have an affair with a slave? I am sure he can have any lady who wanted to finish first. In 1772, Thomas Jefferson married Martha Wales Skelton. Martha was intelligent and his third cousin, but she died 10 years later when Thomas Jefferson was only 39. And on her deathbed, she made Jefferson promise her that he will never marry again. That painted a portrait of a woman who was selfish and controlling. I will have to say that she did live up to her name, Skelton, for being quite scary. Asking her 39-year-old husband to remain a widow was a terrible thing to do. That probably left Thomas Jefferson few choices to combat his loneliness. Do you see any resemblance between Martha and Hillary? I don't mean the scary part, just the looks. Is that another similarity they shared? There's another thing they have in common. Did you know 1800 marked the birth of negative campaigning in the United States? The incumbent President John Adams attacked Thomas Jefferson on his affair with Sally Hemings. Despite that attack, Jefferson still won the presidential election. That mirrored what we witnessed in Clinton's 1992 presidential campaign. Jennifer Flower profited $500,000 from revealing her relationship with Bill Clinton. The news was juicy and damaging, but Bill Clinton won the election and served a second term, just like Thomas Jefferson. The similarities do not end there, as they both were lawyers and they both were governors. Jefferson was the governor of Virginia, while Clinton was governor of Arkansas. Actually, Clinton was the 40th and 42nd governor of Arkansas and 42nd president of the United States. Jefferson was the second governor of Virginia and fourth president of the United States. Bill Clinton was number 42 twice, first as governor and then president. Is there any Jefferson 42 connection? Yes. The paper of Thomas Jefferson 42 is the paper to purchase Louisiana. It was a deal that formed our United States. On top of that, did you know both President Jefferson and President Clinton are passionate about music? President Clinton once considered pursuing a career in music, while President Jefferson called music his favorite passion of his soul. Although the United States has been playing a dominant role in the world stage, very few U.S. presidents can speak a second language. However, Bill Clinton can speak German, while Thomas Jefferson could read and write 6 different languages. Please note that both of them were lawyers and interested in religious freedom. Bill Clinton signed into law in 1993 Religious Freedom Restoration Act, while Thomas Jefferson drafted and signed into law the Virginia Statute for Establishing Religious Freedom. Now, do you believe in reincarnation? Although it is impossible to confirm one's past life, I have to say it is very likely there is some connection between President Clinton and President Jefferson. But am I the only person with that crazy idea? Actually, I found someone called Bill Clinton as the reincarnated Peyton Randolph, a cousin of Thomas Jefferson. This is interesting as Randolph came up as the one who may have fathered some of Sally Hemings' children. Based on DNA evidence, that is most likely a way to divert attention from Jefferson. Then I found another article calling Hillary as Woodrow Wilson and Bill as Edith Wilson. It is an interesting theory, but I think my theory makes better sense because Hillary lost the election. If history repeats itself, Hillary should have won. Because there's no way to prove reincarnation, we can't know if we are right or wrong on our theories. But I think I have proved my case beyond any reasonable doubt, right? Or have I cast doubts on my sanity? Well, it does not really matter if Bill Clinton is a reincarnation of Thomas Jefferson or not, since they both are no longer in office. This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.